Aloha everybody and welcome to part 5 of Sonic and the Black Knight. So in the last mission, or in the last part rather, we ran into a kid who said that his family was taken away by a dragon, and that's why we're here in Crystal Cave. Well, this particular mission has us saving townspeople from all of these purple crystals. How did the dragon put them in crystals? A wizard did it. Anywho, the point is, we have to come up to all these pillars of light, and once we go walking into those pillars of light, we automatically go into first-person view, where we have to move the Wiimote so we can guide the light into the crystals. Again, you just shine the light on the crystal for a set amount of time, and then eventually the crystal will shatter and the person inside will be free. And then, yay, we've saved 5 people, because we only have to save 5 people. I think in this mission there's more than 5 people in the map. Because I remember there's been a few playthroughs of this stage where I didn't see certain things that I did in another playthrough, so maybe there's more than 5, but you only have to say 5, and the mission ends directly at 5. It's also a looping area, so like, you'll keep coming back to the same set pieces, but there's like these little, you know, you could go left, or you can go right kind of moments. So, you know, it's not really all that hard. Just choose one side your first run through, and then once you've gotten to the second loop, just start going to the right pathway this time. And eventually you should find everything that you're looking for. No problem. If a crystal's too high, impossible. You have a sword that can move in any direction. Aim the light up. If the pillar of light is too high, then maybe it's being hidden by blocks or something. I don't know. As I mentioned before in part 4, fairies pretty much replace everything in Sonic and the Black Knight. You know, in Sonic and the Secret Rings, they didn't really care about explaining the springs and the dash pads and the rings that were everywhere, right? And, for some reason in Black Knight they were like, you know what, no, Sonic's in a mythical fantasy land, right? He's in Avalon. Avalon wouldn't have dash pads, Avalon wouldn't have springs, Avalon wouldn't have any of the Sonic tropes. So this time we're going to replace everything with fairies. So, of all the fairies in the game, there are yellow fairies, and yellow fairies give you rings. You could have guessed that, no problem. Blue fairies show up all the time as like dash pads, springs, and anytime you run into them, you always get bonus points anyway, so you're always encouraged to run into fairies no matter what, because it does help your score and stuff. And it can always lead you to some cool shortcuts, you know? And, the red fairies fill up your soul gauge meter, so if you ever run into red fairies, feel free to go into them. And of course, you also fill up your soul gauge meter by killing enemies, so don't dilly-dally, don't just jump over them. Especially in this mission where we have to kill 50 of them, otherwise the mission will not be completed. Also, I'm doing this the hard way because in order to get the 5-star ranking, you have to make sure that you don't really hit anybody. The problem with this level is there are people everywhere. So in order to get a 5-star ranking in this particular level, I have to recommend that you do not fight any of the enemies in the crowd of people. Always aggro them into coming to where you are, far away from those people, in order to keep them safe, you know? Otherwise, again, there's no real penalty for hurting people. If you're doing like a casual run-through of this game, you could just kill everybody in sight. You could just slash right through them in order to get all the enemies. The only objective of this particular mission is to kill 50 enemies. What happens to the townspeople, they could not give a shit about, even though the whole entire point of coming here was to save everybody. Like, I'm just imagining that scenario in my head. Like, Sonic comes back to the kid, and he's just like, hey, I did what you asked me to do. I haven't seen my family around. Oh, right, I kinda killed them on the way out. What? What do you mean you killed them? Well, see, I was trying to slash the enemies, but they got in the way. So, Sonic had to do what Sonic had to do, you know? You're an asshole, Sonic. I know. Get used to it. So again, for this mission, just, you know, if you're getting for the 5-star, aggro... Whoa! What the hell happened there? I mentioned this before, but the air Soul Surge's lock-on is a hell of a lot better than the ground Soul Surge. And so what happened was, I literally went super high to an area I hadn't reached yet, and I bypassed a whole bunch of knights, and it's just like, It's always awkward, because the only way to go back to places is to sort of back jump and stuff, because you're on the rails, right? And I don't want to run into stuff that I can't see coming. Especially the knights with arrows, because now we're starting to see those kinds of enemies. And you can block the arrows, but they don't really have a big telltale sign, you know? This isn't like Batman Arkham City, where, like, you have, like, a spider sense warning. So sometimes you could just be walking around, and then yellow arrows just come out of nowhere and hit you, and it's just like, It's very easy to take damage that way, and the archers can be real jerks. See? Did you know those arrows were coming? I could barely see the archer in between all those people in the background. Eh? Did you know? But again, block is your friend. If someone is ready to jump into the sky at you, hold the block button, and when he tries to hit you, he won't do shit. When you got all these people you don't want to slash because you're trying to get that chivalrous knight's honor bonus, aggro them. Go to them, and they will chase you, and then they will follow you all the way to the end, and then you just slash them. And if they don't follow you all the way to the end, then fuck them. I don't need to fight everybody, I just need to kill 50. And as you can see in the top left, I have killed 74. So, whatever. But again, this mission isn't bad at all. Like, all you're doing is killing 50 enemies. As you can see, I've killed 80, so there's more than plenty. This isn't like Shadow the Hedgehog, where if you miss one, you have to go all the way back. You know, you have to go looking for that one guy you missed. No, this is not like Shadow the Hedgehog. There's always plenty more than what you actually need. And again, there's no harsh penalties. I could kill all of those civilians in that stage. That's why I like the levels of Sonic and the Black Knight. They're chill, they're relaxing, they're not overbearing. This game's fun. I don't see what makes this game so bad, you know?
The appointed time has passed.
Yeah, don't remind me. You've been waiting here the whole time? Sorry about that. Good news, everyone's safe.
Thank you. And sorry about tricking you.
Huh?
You have shown courage, strength, and compassion.
Huh? Then...
I shall show you how to blunt the power of Excalibur. 'Cause you're a true knight.
Yes! I see. So I have to defeat the Knights of the Round Table and collect the sacred swords?
Yes, the 3 sacred swords, combined with your Caliburn, should dispel the power of immortality that protects him.
Sounds like a walk in the park.
We'll see about that.
Hey, come on! Isn't it about time you gave me a little credit?
The remaining knight, Percival, is the Knight of the Grail. She's as strong as she is noble. One mistake could be your last.
Don't worry! I've got one of the great sacred swords.
Of course. It's about time you figured that out.
I'm gonna make this look easy. She won't know what hit her. I've gotten pretty used to you, too.
That is exactly what I told you not to do.
Fare thee well, brave knight, chosen one of Caliburn.
I've gotten pretty used to you, too. And then Sonic gives Caliburn the sexy eyes. So we finally opened up a whole bunch of optional missions that we don't really need to do. We could go back to Deep Woods, we could go back to Titanic Plain, but what we want to go to is Molten Mine. That is where the story progression goes. And again, I think I've mentioned this before, but this isn't like a full playthrough in that I'm not tackling every single side quest in the game. I'm tackling the story, and then I'm going to have a few extra videos where I show off some unique extra missions, but including that particular 4th Knights of the Round Table boss fight that I mentioned. But, you know, I'm just saying, there's a lot of side quests in this game, and they make up, like, maybe 2/3 of the game. The story mode gets criticized for being pretty short, but the fact is, there is a lot of content in this game anyway that, you know, if you gave up after story mode, yeah, well, that's kind of your fault, you know? You say the game's too short, but you didn't really try playing everything else that the game had to offer. And honestly, you know, with games like Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations getting such praise, and they're pretty short, I don't think the story mode's that short in comparison to all that stuff, so, you know. I like it. It's simple. It's not a giant friggin' marathon like Sonic 06 or Sonic Chronicles. Yeah, I said Sonic Chronicles. That game's awful. It feels way longer than it needs to be. But anywho, sidestepping has returned. Only for this level, but it has returned for Sonic and the Black Knight. And how it works is pretty much exactly as it was in Secret Rings. You move left or right. Things are constantly falling, and you don't want to get hit. When you get hit this time, Sonic doesn't just fall into the pit below like he did in Secret Rings. This time around, he will dig Caliburn into the side of the wall and save himself. So you actually have a safety net as long as you have a ring. So as long as you have one ring or more, you won't fall into pits in the sidestepping parts, which is so much better than a lot of the annoying segments in Secret Rings, where, like, in Secret Rings, you get hit at the wrong time, you fall, you die, that's it. Never fun. And, again, Molten Mine's the only level with sidestepping. When I think of Knight's Passage, when I think of Shrouded Forest, Dragon's Lair, everything, that's it. This is the only level with sidestepping, so you don't really have to worry about it too much in the game. So don't get used to it. Not unless you're looking to play Molten Mine a whole bunch. And another thing that is introduced in Molten Mine, well, not introduced, we saw it in Misty Lake, but it's a little bit more prominent here, is rail grinding. Secret Rings, because of its motion controls were being so terrible, rail grinding was horrible. I kind of like this segment, just jumping in time. Woo, woo. Rail grinding was horrible in Secret Rings because in order to get off, you had to move the Wiimote to the left or to the right, and it never registered, and I don't care what people tell me, it never gave me any help, no matter what tips they offered. And, again, admittedly, it's not perfect here either, but at least with a control stick, I can get off it better. What happens is you go on a rail, and then you move the control stick right to go to the right rail. You move the control stick left to go to the left rail. And if there is no rail on the left or right, then Sonic will go off the rails. And it's always recommended because in this level, there's always like a wall of spikes at the end. So if you're coming up to it and you don't trust your timing to jump over it in time, or jump over it at the right time, push the left control stick and you'll just get off the rails. It's better than having to rely on god-awful motion controls that never work. That was awesome. Oh, another great thing about the sidestepping stuff is Speed Break skips it completely. I'm doing air dashes only because I want to save the soul gauge for later enemies, but if I wanted to, I could use Speed Break and bypass everything right here. Just completely. Soul gauge is so useful in this game. Speed Break is so useful. You could literally just skip entire sidestepping segments, including the ones with blocks in them. Like, if there are blocks that are up ahead that you have to smash through, Speed Break goes right through them. I'm not kidding. I tested it out last night, and and it's awesome. You know, I love the fact that you can Speed Break past some of the more slow parts of the game. It's like if you know what you're doing at Sonic and the Black Knight, you could make it a hell of a lot more enjoyable by skipping things that you don't find necessarily fun. You know, I like that level a lot. If you fall in the lava, you instantly die, and just like Secret Rings, this game doesn't have any lives, so you just respawn over and over and over again. So you don't have to worry about dying at a boss 1,000 times and having to redo the entire beginning or whatever. So yeah. I'll see you guys in part 6 when we take on Sir Percival.